Welcome, everybody, at another episode of the Wrestling vs. the World podcast. If you're all enjoying your day, sweet. If not, then what the hell ever. So, I'm kind of somewhat generalizing the episode in terms of, like, a common theme in all this. And that is anything involving nationality/patriotism style gimmicks that we've ever had, at least within WWE. I'm not going to count WCW, TNA, ECW, or anything like that, because that's a lot of entries that can be added in here. But seeing as how WWE is the more mainstream company, it's easier to cycle through a lot of these gimmicks. So, like, I'm generalizing all these because it has a common theme that I'm seeing here in terms of, like, my point of view is that I'm really not behind any of these kind of pro-America/anti-America style gimmicks. Because, like, you've seen so many characters that come out, they either say that they love America or they're against it in whatever country they're from, they love it. And it's like, it feels like it's such a tired-out trope or, like, an easy generic kind of, like, characteristic to give somebody just to give them something as a character. And I've got a handful of names here for both sides, pro-America and anti-America. You got Hacksaw Jim Duggan, one of the most well-known, like, established ones from back in the 80s. Ho, 2x4, American flag, USA, and goofy faces and all that stuff. I mean, it's like his career, like, that's what he's most known for, just saying ho, 2x4, and being pro-USA. The only career accomplishment he had in WWE was winning the first ever Royal Rumble, even though it was on a television special rather than pay-per-view, but still. But it's just like, that character was a bit more, like, goofy-ish, like, when you include, like, the American character portion of it, because, like, look at when he became King, Hacksaw Jim Duggan. I think he won the crown from Haku, I believe it was. He was just all making goofy faces, wearing the crown, like, ho! So it's like, it's a character that's got over because, like, it was pro-America, and they're in with the American crowds, it's gonna get over. But it also had that goofy element to the character with his presentation, facial expressions, to where he was never going to break out to that next level, you know? Now, Sergeant Slaughter, he's one that counts on both sides because of the characters he's been given. Like, Sergeant Slaughter, standing at attention, salute, oh, don't spit on the ground that my mother lays on, and I can't do the impression accurately and everything, but you know how it goes. He's like pro-America, firing tanks and everything, and street fights and all that stuff. There's like another pro-America thing, but then he also did the anti-America thing, because 1990 going into 91, he became the Iraqi sympathizer. He's like, oh, America's soft, and oh, here's Saddam Hussein, and whoever. I'm trying to think. I know they brought in the Iron Sheik, who I'll bring up in just a minute, and repag him as a character. I can't remember what his name was off the top of my head, and you also had somebody else in there. Like, they had him in one of the WWE video games. I can't remember which one off the top of my head. It might have been, like, 2K15. But Slaughter, he was like, oh, he loved Iraq and everything, and, like, salute and burning. He was going to burn the American flag at one point, but he decided not to because he thought it was a bad idea, so he was going to burn a Hogan shirt. And he was getting death threats over this and wearing a bulletproof vest, and he became WWF champion. Just like, hey, something came of it, and then he lost it a few months later because the Gulf War was over, and it lost heat and everything, and then after he lost the title to Hogan, and then kept going through the program into SummerSlam, which Warrior almost wasn't part of because he was holding up Vince for money, afterwards like, I want my country back! And it's just like, his career never really rebounded afterwards. He's just a name there, like, he'll salute, he'll have some matches, he had the boot camp match in 97, commissionership, so it's like, it's a rare time where, like, he, like, elevated to the main event, but it was for the iffiest of reasons, and unfortunately that character didn't garner enough heat. Like, it garnered enough heat for them to worry for their safety and everything, like, oh, fans are buying into this new character, but it didn't garner enough, like, heat or anything and intrigue to the point where it actually contributed to sales in terms of tickets for where they were originally going to do WrestleMania 7, so they had to move venues because, oh, you don't have enough people here, so that happened. Wounded Borga, I'm all about Finland, and America will fall, and I'm gonna beat Tatanka with one finger, and, like, as a pin, and that led to nothing afterwards. He was just a guy who people didn't like backstage. He looked weird, he's all muscly, he ended Tatanka's undefeated streak for whatever reason, and then he injured his ankle at a house show in January 94, I believe. Any pay-per-view matches he was supposed to have after that, out the window. So yeah, really useful there. Rusev. Now, they really really emphasized on this one about being like pro Bulgaria. I know they brought in some like Russian propaganda when like you had stuff going on with Russia online. It's like, oh, you blame Russia for current events and all that other stuff, which is poor timing because of what was going on in the real like world outside of the wrestling industry for all that. But Rusev, he actually like he accomplished stuff during this. Like he became United States champion. He was dominant. He had an undefeated streak. And then afterwards, and like with the U.S. title run that ended in 2015 with Cena, that's when they felt like they kind of laid off that a little bit. It's like, yeah, you remember he's Bulgarian because he had like the medal and would like wave around the flag, and you also remember that. Well, I at least remember that pointless flag match he had against Jack Swagger in 2014. Like, oh, if you win, you get to wave your flag. All right, why does that have to be for a stipulation for a flag match? It's just like. It's a match stipulation that keeps changing the gimmicks. Like, oh, you got to retrieve the flag to win it. No, you can win by pinfall or submission, then you have the right to wave it. What if Swagger lost and afterwards he beats up Rusev and still waves his flag anyway? Like, that was pointless. Derek Bateman. I mentioned this on one episode of Saturday Morning Slam. He had a match, and the only thing they gave him for a character saying, like, oh, he loves his country, and he walks out with a small American flag in his hand while walking to the ring. It's like, really? That's it? That's all we're gonna get from this character is that he loves his country? That's not interesting. Like, he had a bit more intrigue when he was Ethan Carter III, because, like, hey, he's the nephew of Dixie Carter, the head honcho of TNA, even though I could do without his promos being with the slow delivery and everything. And then he came back to WWE, and he was a mute and all that stuff, but that whole just one little element saying, like, oh, he loves his country, and he carries around a small flag to the ring, it's just like, do you guys not have anything interesting to give him, like, in terms of a quirk or some kind of personality characteristic to just say that he loves his country? Just to get something behind him besides something just generic. The Hart Foundation. This, I believe I talked about this in the Hitman Hart Wrestling with Shadows documentary review. This one was one where they kind of painted themselves into a corner because, like, you had Bret Hart, Jim the Anvil Neidhart, Owen Hart, the British Bulldog, and Brian Pillman all in this group together. Because, like, Bret, this was after WrestleMania 13 saying, like, oh, Canada's amazing, and I apologize to the fans for WrestleMania and what I did, but America, I apologize for nothing. So, he's anti-American, pro-Canadian, and also pro any other country outside of there. Jim Neidhart joined him. Bulldog joined him, and it's understandable because, like, brother-in-law and everything. Owen, also understandable. Pillman, I get that he was in the group just because, like, he was, like, close to the family and everything, with training and everything, but you gotta remember he's technically American, so it's a little odd there. But it's just like, the big thing I noticed here, it's like, yeah, they became champions during all this and everything. Like, Bulldog was European champion, and tag champions as well as Owen, who was also Intercontinental champion. Bret was WWF champion. But one of the big problems that we saw here is that you couldn't really fully identify them as face or heel because they're more in the middle. Because, like, I feel like if you're supposed to be a heel, your main goal should be a 100% heel reaction, because that's what the bad guy does. If you do that old trope of the bad guy with the top hat and the twirly mustache tying the girl to the railroad tracks, there's nothing about that whole perspective with that character that should elicit a positive reaction. He's supposed to be evil. You want to see him get his comeuppance. Be like, oh, how dare you, I hope somebody beats you up. And it's like, with the entire Hart Foundation, it was the opposite of that, because, like, they would, like, elicit the negative reaction in America and eat it up and play off of that. But then when you see them in other countries like Canada or in the UK or whatever, they take the positive reactions and pretty much pander to the audience. Like, a full-on heel group, or like even one single person, I feel should just try to get that negative reaction no matter where they are. It's like, oh, I'm in my home country and I'm glad I left. Like, I know Jericho, I think he did that somewhat in 2003, like a little bit. He's like, at first, I know there was like a highlight reel. It was like, oh, like Canada does not forget Montreal and everything. And then Sean's like, oh, you're proud to be Canadian? Then why do you live in Florida? Like, they could have played off of that, like that right there, being like, yeah, I'm from here, but I left. I know, like, they did touch with that with Sami Zayn, being like, oh, he's like Canadian, then he left because, oh, Quebec and all whatever. So it's like, that was my problem with the Hart Foundation. You couldn't say they're 100% heels or 100% baby faces because of how the crowd reactions were based on where they were and how they reacted to those reactions. It's like there was no consistency within that. The Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov, we saw elements being like, oh, hot America, hot duh. And like singing the whole Russian national anthem or whatever Nikolai Volkov's nationality was. I forget off the top of my head. And all that stuff. The Patriot. This was generic and pointless. It's like, it's Del Wilkes in a mask in complete, like, USA attire and everything. He comes in 97. He's facing Brett because, like, he had a problem with them, like, being against America, and I'm going to wave the flag, and we're going to listen to the national anthem. And the Patriot's like, yeah, you had a great match with Brett at Ground Zero in September 97. But then you did nothing afterwards. Because the company just did not care. It's like, oh, you have this match. And then I know Cornette, he mentioned it in his own podcast that he talked about back with stuff in 97. It's like, what are we going to do about the Patriot? Like, you book him as this big, heroic babyface who's going against the anti-American heel, like, Canadian group. Again, depending on where they're at. And it's like, you guys aren't doing anything. You guys are practically burying him and everything like that. So it's just like, it was this part-time character that was just, like, generic plastered all over the place. Lex Luger. I almost forgot to put him there, but I just thought about him now. 93. Of course, like, he was a narcissist, and then all of a sudden after Hogan left, oh, he's like, made in USA, and I slam Yokozuna for America. I'm going to ride on a bus and everything, and shake hands and kiss babies and everything, which went nowhere because I'm like, yeah, the visual of Luger posing everything on the bus was cool, like in front of the Washington Monument and all that stuff. It's like, okay, the looks cool and everything, but he didn't have the charisma to make this thing work out or fully connect with the fans and all that. And like the sudden just shift in the character instead of something gradual, just because like they were panicking the fact that Hogan was leaving and all this stuff. It's just like, it didn't work. Oh, like, I'll be your hero. No, thank you. Yokozuna, they had elements of that being like pro-Japan, even though he's Samoan, but still a Japanese character. And Mr. Fuji, and like squashing people and draping the Canadian flag and all that. I wanted to bring up Undertaker a little bit, because like you look at Survivor Series 93, where he had the jacket and everything with the 13 stars or whatever it was inside, but it's just like, that wasn't really part of his character. That's a one-off thing to build up for the Survivor Series. Hogan, pro-America, being like, USA, oh, brother, wave the flag, I'm doing it for America, brother, WrestleMania 7, It's just like, like, anything involving Hogan is just hard to really look at in a positive light because of his backstage reputation. And then, of course, the last one I could easily think of off the top of my head, the Un-Americans. Because you had these un-American characters, like, I think Jericho might have been affiliated with them. You had Christian, Lance Storm, Test, William Regal, and I think that might have been it. And that group, like, ended up ending abruptly because everybody was afraid for their lives, being like, oh, we're getting genuine heat because we're anti-American and the flag is upside down. We're about to burn it and all that. It's just like, there's like the old generic America sucks type thing. It's just like copy-paste. So yeah, this, you look at these characters and it just feels like a simple copy-paste thing. It's like if they're a foreign character that's supposed to be portrayed as a heel, good amount of times they're going to be given that whole anti-America gimmick. It's just like the same thing, like, oh, I love my country and America is weak and all that other stuff. And if you're American and you don't, a lot of times if you don't really have any characteristics that are going to stand out on its own, you're given a character, they're just going to say you love your country and you're fighting for the USA to get you over as a babyface. It's just like, it feels like the most generic, like, copy-paste type of characteristic or gimmick just to give somebody. Like I said, especially with Derek Bateman right there. Oh, he loves his country, come out with the little flag there, woohoo! But yeah, let me know in the comment section below, does anybody else just not a fan of these constant characters that we see in wrestling where they're either pro-America or anti-America and all that stuff? It's just, it feels so tired out and generic that it's just hard to really get behind compared to other characters that you see in wrestling. But let me know what you all thought in the comment section below. If you enjoyed today's episode of the podcast, folks, please remember, leave a like, subscribe to the bell channel here on YouTube, comment what you thought below, and I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for listening, folks. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace out, and good day, everybody.